Tonight's disquisition, tonight's chance for us to meet and speak is about dealing with almost something that is surreal. Just so surreal. Don't ask me why. I had a very, very surreal day today where everything just kind of looked different to me. It's like they turned the lights on or something, and I just saw things, everything different today. You ever had days like that where you'd say, oh, not really an epiphany, not where I understand something, but everything looks different to me. I think, okay. I was arranging to do an interview with somebody. They want to interview me. And I said, hey, here's the information. And the host or whatever said, Lionel, what is your last name? And I wrote back, I said, Mononymous. Lionel, one name, like God. That was a line from a cab driver years ago that I thought was so perfect. It was one of those things where life just writes it perfectly for you. It's not a joke. It's not the way comics think about jokes. As I wrote this joke. Well, I'll determine if it's a joke or not. A joke is funny, and you just can't say it's a joke. But in any event, I nonetheless remember hearing this one cab driver, and he says, "What is your name, Lionel?" I said, "One name." He says, and he said, Lionel, and it was a Indian fellow. I mean, then when we had cab drivers in New York, we really had cab drivers. There were many, many, many such very, very polite Indian gentlemen for the most part. Very, very polite, showed an incredible politeness. And one recognized me, and he says, may I ask you a question? Yes. He goes, what is your name? Lionel what? What is your name? Lionel what? I said, it's like one name, like Elvis or Cher, Liberace, a bad example. He says, oh, like God. I said, that's perfect. The greatest mononymous name ever, like God. Now, when I told that story or gave that or told that joke or whatever you want to call it, I was on a show and somebody said, oh, so you're saying you're like God? I said, no, you're missing. No, it's funny. It's a joke. One name, God hasn't one name, mononymous, one name, God. I'm not saying I'm like God. I'm saying the name is like, and I realized I'm just done. Stupid people. I had a guy one time who worked at a radio station. This is my favorite. Well, one of my favorites. And for the longest time, I used lock and load was my thing. It was my cowabunga. It was my Megadittos rush. It was my Baba Booey. It was what people said to show a conversance or a membership status. Like Uncle Lenny. One time we had a woman listening, and her mother said, are you listening to that Lenny guy again? I thought that was funny. So it was lock and load, cocked and locked, ripped and stripped, lock and load. And it came from the days when I was in Florida, and there was, of course, certainly a Second Amendment attitude. And believe it or not, there was a time when that was pretty rough going. And invariably, if there was some awful event occurring with a gun, people would say, do you think maybe you should lose it? I'm thinking, I'm not. Anyway, so this fool, just absolute fool, and I couldn't believe how, and I don't suffer idiots kindly or gladly, I should say. And he said, do you think that maybe when you use, I'm just asking. I was like, okay. He always played this not passive aggressive, but he always thought he was outsmarting you. But I knew exactly what he was doing. He says, do you think that by some stretch of the imagination, you might be in some way encouraging, violence by virtue of saying lock and load? I said, oh, absolutely. And I walked off because I didn't respect him. It was just so. And my point is, all your life, remember this. If you do something that somebody likes, and if you do something that other people like, if you do something that's unique, you're going to run into somebody who doesn't understand you. But they unfortunately have power. They have the power to put you on a show, take you off a show, that sort of thing. This is one of the most important things in the world for you to understand. And this is why I think you take this thing far too serious, too lightly, excuse me. Joe Rogan may very well have never, ever, ever been on any talk radio show ever if there were no streaming platforms. Joe Rogan is not at all conventional. His format. Can you imagine explaining to Joe? Joe says, Joe, have a seat. Explain this background. Well, I talked for about, I don't know, an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending upon if I like the subject. About what, Joe? What are you talking about? Well, maybe ultimate fighting, maybe movies, maybe pop culture, maybe particle physics, maybe Egyptology. And they'd say, yeah, okay, thanks. Have a good day. And they would say, beat it. It's like, what are you, nuts? We want somebody to say, hello, everybody. Welcome. It's 8 after the hour today. Well, President Trump wowed him in Blasphemy, Michigan, or whatever. Let's talk about that. We'll take your calls today at 888-555-2222. That's the news traffic and weather. Let's go up to the sky right now with Benny. Benny, how's that weather? And they do this. And the program director or the general manager say, now that's radio. That's great. Great formatics. I love that one. Great format. He's got it. Oh, resets the topic. Well, welcome back, everybody. 8 after the hour. Here we are right now talking about how have a great day. This is KQID, fine. KQID, KQID. And you give the number and there's an expression they used to say that when you give the call letters and whatever it is, used to be 77 WABC, 77 WABC. And in Florida, it's 970 WFLA, 970 WFLA time, 970 WFLA time. 970 WFLA. Thank you so much. And if you were interviewing somebody and you said, today we're interviewing Jesus Christ, who joins us right now. That's right, Jesus Christ is doing a new North American tour. You are Jesus Christ, right? Son of God. Yes, right. 970 WFLA time, 240. Jesus. I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're doing time with Jesus? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? That's the way I talk, 870. If you'd like to talk with Jesus, it's 888-222-KQID, 970 WFLA time. It's 240. Jesus. And the program there, that is the best. He is the best. He sounds like radio. And I used to listen to this. I'm thinking, you've got, oh my God, who talks like this? Because it was this transition from the music jock, those people, and oh my God. And then when I wanted to do radio, they said, this guy's voice? Who? You don't have a voice for that. I said, I know. But when people listen to me, they know who I am. They recognize it. But it's the substance. It's not the style. And somebody said one time, the best, again, I'll never forget this. He said, your voice, he said, oh, it sounds like Joe Pesci on helium. But the one I loved the most was, you sound like Curly Howard on Benzedrine, which I thought was brilliant. One time I did a show. I had on three of the greatest, the pipes. They used to be called Pukers is a radio show for, hey, coming to watch, that kind of, I'll sleep the hippie before the man, 5 after the hour. That old, I hope they get rid of this stuff because it's anachronistic and it's horrible. Wonderful wino, I'll sleep, that. Okay. But I had these voice guy who had pipes. They had pipe three. I had three. Don't ask me how. They kind of like, we're in this big complex and I had to say, could you all come in And one after another, and of course they all put on their cans or headphones because they had to hear themselves. They said, "Oh, like everybody, you know, that's what they go. Wow!" And they say, "Oh my God, to hear these three talking, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm a big fan of yours." And then here I come. Sounds great. You sound terrific. And I was more me to break through this. It was driving people nuts. Okay. Joe Rogan would never be on radio today. Joe Rogan, never be on radio. Lex Friedman, never in your life. Never. Lex Friedman is like on some kind of anxiolytic. Could you tell me, and please, my brothers and sisters, remember, I love you. I love you. He is so big that he doesn't even do spots anymore. He says, and by the way, the people promoted, just look at the names on the thing. He doesn't even say their name. He doesn't even do a spot. Anyway. He would never be on. Never. When Bob Dylan, and I'm not trying to compare myself to Bob Dylan or anybody else for that matter, but somebody, John Hammond, listened to Bob Dylan and said, he's great. And people said, Bob Dylan can't sing. There was somebody out there who actually said that. There were people who said that. And thank God somebody said, no, you don't get it. This is different. I don't know what to tell you. I remember watching Raising Arizona. Remember that? John R. Crowder, I think is his name. He did the yodeling, that wonderful yodel. But it started in the middle of the movie. They didn't do the credits at the beginning. It was in the middle of it. Directed by, it was, wow, it changed it. Somebody different. Green Acres. Green Acres was one of the greatest TV shows ever. It was so hip. When Fred Ziffel's knocking on the door, ding, 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 ding. I think that's it. Yeah, Green Acres, ding, 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 ding. And he was knocking on the door, and they would have produced by Paul Henning, and he'd turn around like that, and he would look, and he would think, the fourth wall or breaking the wall, whatever. And Mr. Douglas would go, yes, Mr. Ziffel goes, I was just wanting to see who directed was what. Anyway, loved it. Now, what am I saying? Why am I talking about this? What am I talking about? Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Green Acres. What are you talking about? Bob Dylan. What is the possible reason? Is this one of your rants, Uncle Lenny? Are you off into the woods again? No. Because you know exactly what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? This guy. Trump. He's not supposed to be running for any. What are you talking about? He's not supposed to be no. He's I've got a friend. We go through these incredible. I love to drive him crazy. He says, "How could you vote for a man who's convicted of these events?" I said, "But he was convicted unfairly. You know that, right?" I said, Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was convicted unfairly. Should we forever not? He goes, "You're comparing Trump to Rosa Parks?" I said, "Yes. As a matter of fact, I am. Yes, absolutely." Jesus was like, don't bring up Jesus. Well, he was put on trial. He was found guilty, and he was guilty. He was the Son of God. So what are you talking about? Dr. Martin Luther King. Oh God, no. Letter from a Birmingham jail. He was convicted. He was absolutely convicted. No doubt about that. And they just don't get it. They don't understand how transformational this guy was. Larry Cook, by the way, said DJT told gave SD fireworks back. That matters to them. It certainly does. It certainly was. Is that South Dakota fireworks you're talking about? I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm thinking to myself, I think, is that what we're talking about? If so, great. Warren Ocasio says, yesterday, my beloved state of Texas and the USA lost a national treasure, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. She was a historical and very comical figure. May she rest in peace. Indeed, sir. Indeed. And irrespective, I wish someone could possibly put aside this notion of politics one way or the other, but to mourn and to celebrate the life of a human being who devoted a great portion of her life to representing her government. And I agree with you 100%. Some of the people on the left would not be able to do that if certain other individuals had passed away or untimely. B. Wakul Wakel, I hope I'm pronouncing your name. Aussie here. He's from Australia. Lock and load. Not known here. We have no Second Amendment. If you run down the street with nail clippers, you will get arrested. Never lose your guns. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, dear friend. Thank you so much for that. And ladies and gentlemen, Paramahamsa Baba said, Lionel, love you long time. Starting since 89, working front gate at the Colony on Longboat Key. Afternoons in the guard shack with WFLA. Wow. Longboat Key. Great place. Longboat Key is a wonderful place in Manatee County. Longboat Key, Sarasota, Captiva, all that stuff. Longboat Key is, remember, oh God, Euphemia Hay, great restaurant was there. You know who lived around that area not too long ago? Then was Jerry Wexler. He was a Siesta Key guy. West Coast is the only way to go. West Coast is the only way to go. Did I tell you a story one time? Remember there was a place in Longboat Key. Was it? No, not Longboat Key. It was a place called Le Club on Tierra Verde. One time I was it was WFLA at the time, and I looked and they said, Nicolette Larson is coming. Holy God, Nicolette Larson. So Nicolette Larson, oh my, love Nicolette Larson. In the Nick of Time, Rio de Janeiro Blue, her version of that still, with Ted Templeman. She was married to Russ Kunkel. Oh my God, Nicolette Larson, she was part of the West Coast. She was with Emmylou Harris, and oh, a lot of love, the big Neil Young song. But Come Early Morning, Mexican Divorce, loved her stuff. So anyway, she was at this little club, Tierra Verde, called Le Club. And I went, and that day, and I got on the air, was doing an afternoon drive at 970 WFLA. And I said, by the way, Nicolette Larson will be at Le Club. And I don't know if they have it anymore, but it's in that wonderful, that, I don't know what you want to call it. When you go to Tierra Verde, there's that, it's not a causeway. But anyway, so she's going to be at Le Club coming up, and it's in that Nicolette Larson. And the program, the salesman said, hey, Lionel, yeah, can I talk to you a moment? I said, sure. Because, we're not promoting that. I said, well, why not? Well, I mean, that's another radio station. They're promoting it. I said, uh-huh. Yeah. And just want to let you know. I said, oh, okay. Well, thanks, Jerry. Well, thank you. So I went back on the air and I said, by the way, our sales guy came in. Jerry Mulvaney came in, and Jerry wanted to remind me that that's not our promotion, but actually Kiss 97 or whatever it was, and it was theirs. And he didn't tell me to say it, but he was saying something to the effect of, don't bring it up because it's a competitive radio station. So again, that's Nicolette Larson this Friday, 8:00 at Le Club on Tierra Verde. Doors open at 7. And he walked back in the window and looked at me like, you son of a. That's right. That was Jerry Mulvaney, sales department. By the way, he got people called him. And anyway, another time I was in Ybor City. And I looked up and said, oh my God, you know who's coming to this little club? Tower of Power. Oh my God. Doc Emilio. I think Rocco was still with. Oh my God. Bumps. Oh God. Went back on the air and said, by the way, you're not going to believe this. But coming up in Ybor City is Tower of Power. The greatest fun. He comes back again. And Jerry says, I don't have to remind you that That's another radio. Well, I said, well, you should have your salespeople out there. I went back on. It was during the break. I went back. I said, by the way, Jerry Mulvaney from sales just came in, busting my chops about it. That's Tower of Power, Tuesday, October the 15th, 8 a.m. Doors open at 7. Plenty of free parking. Se habla español. Break the rules. Break the rules. Make fun of it. Push the walls. Make fun of the pretentiousness. Make fun of the rules, the regulations. That's what he does. He has a rally and he breaks the rules. He talks for 2 hours. Joe Biden can't read for 2 minutes. What am I living in? How is this even possible? How are they saying, excuse me, we cannot have a president who cannot speak or read a prompter for 2 hours? You cannot do this. You cannot do this. Do you understand what I am saying to you? Do you understand this? Soul76 says, I saw the full 50 minutes unedited corn pop segment today. Have you seen this? Oh, absolutely. There's a guy named Boom Boom Rusted Straight Blades and 6-foot chains. Yeah, I did this. I remember when it happened. It was 2017. And they were, Soul, by the way, thank you, Soul. They were dedicating a pool in Wilmington to Joe. It was named after a longtime city father functionary, and they gave it to Joe. Or they renamed it. I thought, that's rotten. And he had, do you remember these poor black kids saying, come around here. Come on around here. And he started talking to them. And a lot of times it's when white people all of a sudden are either with black people or in a black church, or sometimes Hillary used to do it with Southern people. And all of a sudden they said, oh, come on in here now. We're going to do some whole time. Praise God. I said, wait, Joe, what are you? The Reverend, stop it. Don't do that. In the name of, stop it. Stop doing this soulful, Obama did it. It just didn't work. Just did not work. Don't do this. But anyway, that's when I said he's out of his tree. That was 2017. Shirt was open. He was out of his mind. And he was, and then they tried their best to say, well, there was a man named, he's talking about pomade. And remember in the old days when they had, like, this is before Jerry curl, but when the pomade, when black men would put this kind of a greasy tonic, and pomade, and you get that Morris Day and the Knights look, that who was it? Who had it? Ike Turner had it. That's, and they said you have to wear a bathing cap in the water because of this stuff. I mean, it was bizarre. It was bizarre. And I said, you do know he's crazy, man. You do know he's crazy. Yeah. I'm not going to go into detail. Most of the people here are dead, but there was a fellow one time I went to the work with, and I went to the program director and said, you do know he's crazy, right? And this was a fellow. I said, listen to me. I said, I'm a former prosecutor. I said, I'm visiting the jails constantly. I've dealt with more very criminally crazy people than you could ever imagine. This he's a signal 20. He's out of here. I'm serious. You're not listening to me. You think I'm exaggerating. You think I'm using crazy. Anyway, sure enough, it was so bad they had to call the police. I said, I told you. See, that's my thing. I told you. I was right. You didn't listen to me, did you? You didn't care what I said because you thought I was kidding. You thought I was exaggerating. You thought, oh. I may exaggerate, but it's true. So as we spoke, so I read that who was it? David Letterman is going to be doing a Biden thing, and I asked myself a question: how is it that people can say, "Look"? And I asked a friend. It's this poor Democratic friend, and the texts we exchange are very funny. I said, listen, do me a favor. You don't have any political ideology, do you? You really don't have any political ideology, do you? You really don't. You really don't have any belief system, any core values, any belief in either more government, some Keynesian Bancor, or nothing. You were just raised as a Democrat. You've always been a Democrat. You've always told people you're a Democrat. You've always acted like you were a Democrat. And it didn't really matter to anybody other than what was going on, because you really don't have anything that you believe in. You just hate Trump. That's it, don't you? You honestly, or and they're all like this. I don't know. He's a convicted felon. Can you tell me what any of each of the 34 counts that he was found guilty? No, they can't. How is it that we live in a world? Forget the politics. This man, what do you think Joe Biden's doing right this moment? What do you think he's doing? I'll tell you what he's doing. He's probably face down in a pillow drooling. He's watching Matlock or reruns of Golden Girls or whatever it is, and he has no idea. He might be in a some root cellar in Wilmington. I don't know. And they're looking at, and this is the most important, they're looking at, and I try to tell you this, they look at this, and they look at Kamala Harris, and they say, Kamala, this could very well be about you. She doesn't really understand it. She doesn't really grasp it yet. She doesn't really understand it. She doesn't grasp it. Now, if you watch any of the speech, did you see any of the, look at this rally in Michigan. Look at this picture of it. It's just, I think Right Side Broadcasting is doing it. It's the most ungodly thing you've ever seen. You understand what I'm saying? It is the most ungodly thing. It is incredible what it is. Incredible. Do you understand what I'm telling you? And there are people there who weep and cry and love this man. Good, upstanding American who aren't going to vote for Trump just because it's Trump. Trump goes through a list of everything he's going to do. Border, crime, tariffs, economy, go down the list. And he tells them, Democrats, this iteration of it, they don't have a plan. They're just saying, we're not Trump. Pilgrim says, he's saying, Mother, can I have a cookie in his underwear? See that? I understand that code. Don't think that subliminal messaging didn't get by me, mister. Thank you for that. It's very sad. I mean, if you sat at the bed with Joe and he says, I said, if you said, Joe, are you awake? Yeah. Do you understand that your legacy, yours, everything you did before doesn't matter? Whatever it was, I don't even know what it was, but you're going to be known as this really serious, senescent. There were people that were trying to think of who were as bad as. I'm trying to think of. You know who I was thinking of? Maybe. Even Pinochet and others. I don't know if he was out of it. The only one I think, who may have come close to this. Remember Ayatollah Khomeini when he would do this? Remember that one? And he wouldn't say anything, and I thought, and they're going crazy. I'm thinking, is this guy okay? That might be the only one I can remember. But it's like, Joe, do you understand? Your legacy is going to be this jadrul, this old, this wizened coot. Do you have any idea? What by what lunacy? By what lunacy did you ever say, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this? You can't do this. And I recognize the fact, and we all recognize the fact that you are, for whatever it's worth, you're very serious and but you can't do this. Who is thinking? Jill Biden, Jill, hi, can I talk to you? Hi, my name is Uncle Lenny. Jill, tell me that you know he can't do this. Tell me, just so that I have, not that it matters, but there's a little bit of kind of respect that I had for you. Tell me that you know that he can't do this. Tell me. That's all. Because I'm thinking I'm in another universe. Well, the Democratic leadership has been meeting behind closed doors, and they're wondering whether Biden has lost his fastball. Wait a minute. He's out of his mind. What are you talking about? How are they missing this? My friend who texted me, well, you know, Trump had convicted. I said, are you going to vote for Biden? I said, well, yeah. I said, he doesn't know where he is. How does, I think I read correctly. I think I read, maybe I'm a lunatic, but I could have sworn I read just these. Yep, David Letterman to headline Biden fundraiser on July 29th. What? Yeah. No. Yeah. What? David Letterman, yeah, there he is. Honolulu, David Letterman will headline a fundraiser with President Joe Biden in 10 days with Hawaii Governor Josh Green, a sign that his campaign is forging ahead despite continued calls for. Now, David Letterman, as you know, one of the weirdest people anybody has ever met. By the way, interesting where he was very good. I think he bought, there was this one firehouse that was essentially eliminated in terms of its role on September the 11th. And he bought him a new fire truck. I mean, which is just, you know, to buy the city. This is what they told me. He really is. He's very, very strange. Like when he left after years, nobody really knew him. He had an apartment. I mean, it's a weird, strange. You got never really connect. Kind of like Johnny Carson, kind of sort of me. But his whole thing was, I'm hip, I'm cool, I make fun of people that I think are, you know, goofy or stupid. And at least Jimmy Fallon is sort of coming along. But I hope that for the rest of your life, his life, people say, David, yeah. Because he does podcasts every now and then. Mr. Letterman, let me ask you a question. You headlined a fundraiser for Joe Biden. Did you ostensibly believe that Joe Biden would be a good candidate? Would you have liked to have seen Joe Biden as president? Is that what you're saying? Are you telling me that? Are you really, look at me. You're saying that you believe that your country would be doing well if it voted for Joe Biden. Let me just get this straight. You make sure I understand it. Do you believe that? Laurie Cook says Jill's going to France next week to fundraise in Olympics. Gag. Jill has got to be. And if I said, Jill, you know what? You are going to be, seriously, the most negligible. You did not, dare I say, execrate your image in the soul of the American population. Michelle Obama She was a rock star to many people. What you want? Say what you want. She was, right? Hillary Clinton, powerful. Like her or not. I'm just talking about the actual, dare I say, I guess you would call it the absolute value, the magnitude. You know what the absolute value is. You know, the like -4 and 4 are the same absolute value. The two bars of the it measures magnitude. It doesn't. There's no such thing as direction. Laura Bush, people liked her. People love it. But Barbara Bush, Rosalind Carter, go down the list. People say like, okay, they've got something to say about her. And I will always defend some of the absolute meanness. I mean, just viciousness against Michelle Obama. She didn't bother anybody. Her husband's one thing to say, what's the beef you have with her? It was this trolling. We're not going to go through that again. She wanted to introduce better eating. I thought it was great. Okay, fine. But people know who she is. But Jill, nobody's going to remember you. Even Bess Truman had more of an impact in the litany of this. Everybody, Pat Nixon, poor thing, Pat Nixon, who, who never said anything, Pat, whatever. Pat Nixon, they knew. There was but with you, clown, stupid outfits, and opening the White House, just desecrating the White House, because you were one of these people who were this pretend people like, isn't it groovy? Hey, we've got some climate activists, and we've got a topless whatever. Isn't it great? Aren't we cool? No, Jill, or Jules, I call her. No, Jill, you're not cool. Even Laurie Cook says Michelle had really fit arms. Well, that's what they said. Remember they talked about that? I had no problem with her. What they did to her. No, I'm sorry. I never joined it. I never, ever, ever liked that stuff. I know. Because she's a civilian. She didn't sign on to this. But they knew who she was. Did you ever see that one of the things that will make you cry is a little black woman? She looked like 100 years old. She was like 3 feet tall. She put it this way, Dr. Ruth towered over her. And she came in and she wanted to meet Michelle and Barack Obama. And it was what she's been through, this whole woman. This was the Beatles and God and everything. They treated her wonderful. I don't have in my heart. I'm not inspired by animus, by some kind of personal, kind of a putrescence. I know this bothers people. I'm going to say something to you that's going to make you sick to your stomach. I'm going to say something to you right now that's going to make you may never speak to me again. You may never, ever, ever. And I understand. But it's how I feel. There is a part of me that feels sorry for Hillary Clinton. I would love if somebody said, would you like to talk to somebody? I said, yep. Because I'm always fascinated by people who lose, not people who win. Winners are easy, but people who lose, people who she never even came close. Now there's some things I could absolutely just, she did things that were execrable. But there are parts of it that say, what was that like? George McGovern was humiliated. I think he didn't even win his home state. And Nixon supposedly said something to, Nixon, I wish I could talk to. Oh my God. See, I like the human story. I don't like the winners are boring. I want to hear the people who just, remember when Susan Lucci never won? I don't know if she ever finally did, but every year they had the daytime daytime Emmys. She never won. And her whole thing was, will she win again? And I realized, I said, if she wins, it's over. The whole thing is over. I like people who lose. I like people who are, I'd like to meet like Dick Sargent after Dick York, who played Darren Stevens. Oh, man. That's not Darren. Remember the second Alice Kravitz? That's not Alice Kravitz. I'm interested more in the one to say, that was tough. You played her? How can you do that? It's horrible. In any event, we are in something right now that is so bizarre. Now, let me also tell you something. And I've been waiting 40 minutes to tell you this. And I'm going to tell you right now. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if the Democrats don't pull this out. Lori Cook says, I know an old black man standing in town square waving and smiling when Obama won. Oh, yes. Let me tell you something. I guess you must do all of that separate writing style by virtue of the... You saw Jesse Jackson crying. Do you know what that meant to America to see a black man win the presidency? Whatever you think of it. I mean, if you can't see that, oh, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. It was unbelievable. Then we found out, okay, all right, okay. But that was then, this is now. It's a different story. But let me ask you something. Here's a scenario. They bring in Kamala. They sit her down. They say, all right, you're it. We're going to put you in the game. The first string quarterback, you're it. You are it. You're it. You got it? Now, here's what you're going to do, Cam. Listen to me carefully. You are never going to mention that disconnected to what was, and you're not going to do that anymore. You're not going to do that Deepak Chopra, Hunter S. Thompson, Irwin Corey nonsense. You are not going to do that. Look at me. Look at me. We're going to train you. You are not going to do that. I'm going to have sewn into your clothing a little transponder, a little button. And every time I hear you go off, I'm going to hit a button of mine, and you'll hear the, it'll be a little buzz, and it will remind you, oh, stop it. Because I know you want to do that. You understand that? And Barry Taylor says, okay, let me ask you something literally. Know what I'm saying? Yes. Joe steps down and Kamala gets in. Yeah. Yeah. So you're right about that, Barry. And Barry, let me ask you this. So you got that. You got this Kamala. It's on your wrist. It's a little button. And I'm going to push it. And when you feel that, that means don't go there. I'm listening. Don't go there. It's so much a part of you, these. And we have to look to see that which was now is. Because the difference between was and is nothing more than a temporal connectivity that may or may not have existed then and certainly has been erased by virtue of that which we believe to be the case now. You're not going to do that anymore. You got that? Because they're ready to go. They're rolling tape. Second, if I hear you so much as laugh, and don't give me that business. She had a great answer. She goes, well, my family, we were laughers. We were laughing. My mother laughed. My auntie laughed. We laughed and go, no, 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 no. We're not talking about how you laugh. It's when you laugh and how much you laugh. That's different. Laughing, if you hear somebody call you up in the middle of the night and say, I know where your dog is. That's not laughing. See, sometimes it may seem like laughing. Your laugh scares people. It is a cackle, a cachinnation. It's a great word. This is a guffaw, this chortle, this I don't even know what the word is. It's interesting how laughing somebody, pseudobulbar affect is a great neurological term. Hebephrenia. Laughing can be sometimes is inappropriate. I had an aunt, one of my Aunt Josephine, we called her Tia Pepina, and we take her to movie. I don't think she understood English that well. She would just laugh like the wrong time during a movie. And it's like, it's not funny. They didn't bring her to movies anymore. Soul Man says, regarding Kamala, Due to the Dems' steadfast commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, they now find themselves stuck with the cackling idiot. Well, but they knew this, soul man. They knew this. This was nothing that they did not know. CR says, an October cackling brew laugh. Yes. And I hope it's not a surprise. It is something that is, you would think, CR, and thank you. You would think somebody would have told her, by the way, do not do this. Do not find yourself. You're laughing. It's this, it's an affectation. It's kind of like a tick. Don't do it. Don't say, for example, know what I'm saying? I mean, they're not doing that. Or, bro, literally, don't say that either. Don't do things. Don't. There are two women right now. Have you seen them on YouTube? Both of them imitate Kamala so perfectly. One looks almost Arab or middle. She has that. I like this eye mascara things that go up, this up, she looks almost like Cleopatra. She does it perfect. You know what I mean? She does. And there's another one, a blonde woman. Both of them are just perfect. They describe things. They have her voice down, the cadence. One of the people that they could never imitate was Gerald Ford. There was nothing about him. Gerald Ford was one of these people. And by the way, I keep saying by the way too much. That's my thing. And it's a crutch, and I apologize. Bob Newhart. Not Bob Newhart. What am I trying to say? Bob Hope. Dave Thomas from SCTV was the only guy who could imitate Bob Hope. Bob Hope, they said, was the hardest of them all to imitate by virtue of how he spoke. Very, very difficult. Kamala Harris has to get away from that. But let me go back to what I was saying. Kamala, you come in. Remember this? I'm going to get You stop doing this. And all of a sudden people say, damn. You have a scripted thing. Scripted. We're going to put you through intense tutoring. We're going to have you here. You haven't been paying attention. You're going to have a tutor. And if somebody gives you this, or this, crime, border, abortion, rights, climate change, you're going to memorize these. You're going to have a coach. You're going to be brought up. At 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody's going to say climate change, and you're going to answer climate change. You're going to say something dispositive of climate change. You're going to learn how this thing works. Do you understand? You're going to learn how this thing works. You're going to turn around. And let me ask you a question. If that happens, and she does that, ladies and gentlemen, if that happens and she does that, do you understand how dangerous that could be? Let me tell you something. And I know nobody wants to hear this, and I've gotten in trouble before. If I had to bet right now, I'd say Trump is going to win. And it's not because of what I feel or whether I like his message, whether I think he's better. No. Looking at polling, you have to triangulate all the polls, especially swing states. He has got Biden. Remember, Biden. This is all the polling is Trump versus Biden. Did you hear what I said? Biden. It's against Biden. Let me try this one more time. Let me see if I can explain this again to you, okay? Let me see if I can be very, very, very clear. It's about Biden. It's not about Kamala. Remember that. So if it were held today, that's it. If it's against Kamala, you're going to laugh. You're going to say, that's crazy. There is no way. We will see. We'll look at it then. There is a part of you, and I recognize this, in your heart of heart, you believe that the world is somehow rational. You believe that common sense prevails. You believe that most Americans are good, and no American could possibly ever put themselves in the position of actually thinking or voting for 1 second that they believe, or anybody believes for that matter, that Kamala is somehow, what's the word? That Kamala is, how do we say this? That Kamala is, you can't believe that anybody could take her seriously. You understand what I'm saying? Me says, standing by for that Kamala, put your helmet on and get in the game moment. This should be fun. It's going to be kind of scary, so to speak. Now, let me ask you this much. Let me ask you this. And this is the hardest one. How does Trump handle her? How does Trump deal with her? What's Trump's take? Remember, she was the vice president. She was assigned to 2 different things. Number one, it was going to the border for one of her assignments. And I think AI was another, which is so funny if you think about that. She was assigned to I guess, be the liaison regarding AI. What is Trump going to say? Does Trump what? One of the best things he can do, one of the best things he can possibly do, is to conflate. He does a number of things. Number one, he conflates everything into the Democrats. Not Biden, it's the Democrats. He has to start with the message. Whoever they put in this position, whether it's Joe, Sleepy Joe, Kamala, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, doesn't matter. They are the same because they are handed the script. They are puppets. They are sock puppets who are animated by some shadow government, ghoulish, whatever. These are the people that actually run the show. Do you hear what I'm saying? So he has to start doing this now in preparation. It doesn't matter. Whoever it is, whether it's Biden, Kamala Harris, anybody else, they are handed a script. And they're going to pick up it because there's nobody in their right mind who could actually, I don't believe for a moment that any of these people believe in the dissolution of borders. I don't believe anybody thinks that for a moment. I don't believe anybody seriously believes that. I don't believe that Kamala, in view of what her life has been, she has used, some might say her, for lack of a better word, her femininity positively, powerfully. She is most aware of what it means to be a woman, what men are. I do not believe for a moment that Kamala Harris, if asked, could not give you a very distinct and a very lucid explication as to the differences between men and women. I don't believe that for a moment. Consequently, I believe that what she is doing and what she would be doing is basically repeating what other people told her to say. And for some reason or another, and I don't know why, but for some reason, they are making it sound as though the Democratic Party or whatever cannot figure out exactly what a woman is versus a man. They've actually tried to explain, to promote the idea that there is no difference. I do not believe for a moment that she thinks that. I don't. I do not believe for a moment that she would ever advocate taking our position of energy independence and giving it away based upon some ludicrous notion of climate change or whatever it is. I don't believe for a moment that she on her own said, yes, let's go with EV, and electric cars, even though there's no infrastructure, even though the battery, the cost per unit is inordinate. I don't believe for a moment in that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that she honestly believes in puberty blocking. I don't believe that she intuitively. I don't believe this. She cannot. There's no way she can believe this. I do not believe it. And I do not believe that she intuitively would on her own suggest that we should write a blank check a blank check to Ukraine continue, or whatever the military industrial complex calls it this week. And let me tell you something, and I'm changing the subject. What is happening right now in the Middle East, specifically in Israel, now with the Houthis, hang on and brace for impact. This is not going to end well. This is going, did you hear about the Politico report today? No, because for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, Americans do not want to, or have not, or are not interested in what is happening in the Middle East between Israel and the Palestinians. Rather than going through the merits of it right now, I am telling you, I would just ask, if I were President Trump, I want you right now to think about what's going on. I want you to look at, I've got nothing. I've got no, and also Trump has to be kind of like a patronizing in a nice way. I have all the respect in the world. This woman talked like somebody said, put the helmet on. Come on. You're in now to play. She's been a second stringer, and now she has an awesome responsibility. And I would not want to be in her position right now, because she has to explain and justify an entire pattern of policies and the like that she most probably had nothing to do with, nor would she ever endorse. And I know she's going to say she endorses them now, but I know she can't, because no rational person can. That's why they picked Joe Biden, with all due respect to Joe. And Joe is a good man. Make it sound like you're saying there. Joe tried his best. But there comes a time, it's almost like a hospice thing. There comes a time when you realize, you know what, Joe, it's time to go. Time to go. We need to change. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one thing. Remember one thing. And this is not you, Madam Vice President. I do not hold you responsible, because you were not responsible for this. Again, keep saying how she wasn't responsible. She has no idea what she's doing. Nobody asked her. She has no idea. She was just going to funerals and waving and living at the observatory. She has no idea. But I ask the American people one simple question. Do you want 4 more years of this? And I'll just leave it at that. Do you want 4 more years of this? Do you want 4 more years of this? Bill Monahan, ladies and gentlemen, says having Kamala as president will be even more disastrous and ridiculous than having Biden as president. At this point, I think they're just trying to embarrass America into irrelevance. You know, Bill, I thank you for that. You ask yourself a very interesting point. The first thing is, would it surprise you? Let's take Bill's premise that this was a deliberate move on the parts of whoever was involved to make America the laughingstock of the world. All right? Let's take that. What would it shock you? Is that beyond the realm of possibilities? Absolutely not. Now it gets more complicated. The people involved in Silicon Valley who are going to be promoting Vance may scare me more than anything you can imagine. This is not going to be perfect. J.D. Vance is a nice man who has a tremendous story, but personally speaking, for me, I'm unimpressed. I really am. But that's okay. He's vice president. It's okay. But I'm just telling you, I'm not one of these, hey, he married an Indian woman. Okay, that's good. I mean, that's good. I like that. It's interesting. I don't care about interesting people. If I said to you, Mr. Monahan, if I said, hey, listen, let's say you need some very serious heart surgery. And I said, listen, I got a great guy. He's wonderful. He was raised in the backwater of Stillwater Point, Alabama. His mother was a meth addict, lived in a trailer. He married an Indian woman, went to Yale. I don't know his whole story. And now he became a big venture capitalist guy and fell under the protection of Peter Thiel. Mm-hmm. Isn't that a great story? Yeah, it is a great story. What about, it's a wonderful story. It's the old Abe Lincoln thing. He was a rail splitter. What does that mean? Well, here's one for you. Look at this. Bill Monahan nods. Yes. By the way, possum for possum, possum in Latin is I am able. In any event. So you have these other people. Now, here we have a guy, too, who has a story. Donald John Trump, born to wealth, silver spoon, handed everything, never wanted for anything in his life. Never. Bit of a wild child as a young man. Father sent him off to a military school. Got to tone him down. Got to get him straight. He went to Wharton and he never went to Vietnam. And he was kind of like, And then he was like, okay, he did some great stuff. And then we able to say, but he just jumped right into the fast lane. May have lost this and that, but whatever it is, and he's Trump. He's egomaniac. Trump this, Trump that, Trump that. And then he marries one wife and dumps her from Marla, and then he dumps her, and then and he's never really had to work, and he's not really okay. And are you done with that? Okay. Anything else you want to say about him? No. Okay, good. He's the best president in my lifetime. The best. He's the best. Let me show you something. I want to show you an aerial view of concert stadia. Okay? Stadia. Stadiums. Say. Aerial view. You got this? Great. One after another. One after another. Packed. 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 And you say, wow, my God, that's incredible. By the way, we're going to find out who we went to, got in the MetLife Stadium. Is it tonight? Yeah. Luke Combs, growing up and getting old tour. No idea that is. That's who's there? Yep. Went to a thing called the American Dream Mall today. I'll get over that eventually. I'm going into therapy to get over that one. Anyway, I'm trying to leave, and I kept going back into MetLife Stadium. It's like, can I get out of here? I turn around and go back anyway. Let me go back to my analogy. If I showed you this, look at this. This stadium packed, aerial views, packed, 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 packed. What do you have to say about whoever that performer was? Well, they're pretty good, huh? Yep. You know who that is? Who? Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift had a easy peasy background. She's talented. She's okay. She's good. She lived at a nice family that, never came from any kind of poverty. What do you care? She's packing them in. Whose concert schedule would you like to invest with? Taylor Swift. I don't care whether you like her music. I don't care anything about that. She's great. She's perfect. That's it. She's the biggest thing around. She is enormous. That's Trump. I don't care about his story. I don't care one way. I don't care about his family. I don't care about his wife or his wives or his tie or his orange skin, his xanthrodermic. I don't care about anything. By the way, his ear is looking better for those who, like Fauci said, it was a superficial wound. Would you like to have? And where did that wound come from, Tony? Ah, yes. A rifle round. Of course, you don't believe that. But anyway. These stories mean nothing to me. I mean, they're great. It's interesting. I don't care. Do a job. As far as Vance goes, stay out of the way, support him, and don't, by virtue of your connection with Silicon Valley, don't ever try to compromise my rights, my freedoms, my surveillance protections by virtue of your teal friendship. Too legit, grazie mille. So that's it. So, finishing my thought, let's see what happens with Kamala. Biden cannot do it. It's not that he wants to step down. He can't do it. I told you in the year 2000, Mel Carnahan, man running for governor, I think he was running for senator. He ran against John Ashcroft. He died. He died during the election. And his wife said, I'm going to run Or put it this way, the governor of the state said, Missouri said, if you vote for Mel Carnahan, I'm going to appoint his wife. So vote for Mel, and I'll make sure, I promise you, I'll appoint his wife. And they voted for Mel, who was dead. John Ashcroft lost to a dead man, and that man's wife ultimately became senator. Make a long story short, he can't do it. Our good friend Sol says, by the way, no AR-15 gun control hysteria from the mainstream media. I don't even know the particular caliber, what it is, but you do bring up a good point, Sol, which I brought up. Isn't it funny how the normal rancor, the normal Pavlovian hue and cry, whenever there's a tragedy involving any kind of firearm, the first thing they talk about is assault weapons ban, repeal the Second Amendment, all this other kind of stuff. But here, for some reason, miraculously, nobody's done that. So, and I have found the comment regarding the president to be so despicable, I couldn't bring myself to say that about anybody. I want you to understand something. I'm not a hateful person. I don't hate people. I don't. I don't like what people do, but I don't want harm to come to anyone. I don't care who it is, if it's Hillary or whatever it is. Now, justice, incarceration, we could argue about that, but I am never going to laugh or whatever. Never. Absolutely not. None. There's nothing. And even during the Hunter Biden case, there is something so horrible about addiction. His was a little bit different. So what I'm saying is, do not lose your humanity in this whole effort. That's all I'm trying to say to you. Dear friends, oh mine, I say, do not lose your humanity. So Soul 76 can, thank you. Too Legit, thank you. Bill Monahan, thank you, dear friend. MMC1, thank you. CR, thank you so much. Soul, I said that. Barry Taylor. Laurie Cock, everybody. The one, the only, the inimitable, the ineffable. Pilgrim Media, thank you. Kind and gracious sir. Paramahamsa Baba. Got all their albums. Thank you so much. Biwa Cool and Aussie. Thank you. Warren Ocasio, by the way. Also, he was related to Ocasio-Cortez. Can't prove it, but that's what they say on the street. Thank you, Laurie. And thank you, dear friends, for being a part of this. I appreciate it immensely. And Edie Crowley says, my mind is diametrically opposed, but it's DJT. There can be no. Imagine if you were a loved one was facing a terminal illness, and they said to you, the only thing we have available is this one experimental surgery or drug treatment. You say, I'll do it. It's either that or I'll take it. Well, it comes with its side effects. I'll take it. Okay, but I'm saying it's very expensive. I'll take it. That's what Donald Trump is. If you have not find things wrong with him, I understand. Do you want 4 more years of this? And they're going to do it with a vengeance. Think about what Gavin Newsom just passed a law, which basically prohibits parents from knowing or having any say in case their children find themselves in a position of either gender reassignment or what have you. So anyway, dear friends, also please follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. I cannot say this enough. It is a critical move. She has her stuff is so good and so important. And there's a link right there. Just hit that link and you go right to her YouTube channel and sign up and be a follower. Her message is too important. And also take it and spread it to your kids, grandkids, those you care for, loved ones, relatives, because it's about children. I thought that would get everybody's attention, but apparently it may not. So that's Lynn's Warriors. All right, and also make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Sometimes you find us like, hey, I've been unsubscribed, and also Lionel Legal. We did a kind of a live time respite today. It was a lot of fun. All right, dear friends, we love you, and have a great Saturday night, whatever's left of it, depending upon where you are in the world, configured. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And until then, remember, my friends, these final words: the monkey's dead, the show's over. Sue ya.